On the Brooklyn Bridge tonight, voices strong, knowledge tight, thorough black talk in the air, changing minds, changing flair. From Brother Tad to Sister Kate, warriors got things to say. Sister Marcia brings the heat, Brother Blacksmith keeps the beat. Revolutionary waves they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral line. Thursday nights, the world will see Black Power Media on the spree. Facebook, YouTube, all aligned, breaking free from every bind. Social talk and politics, every voice breaks through the matrix. Commentary raw and true, for the many, not the few. Revolutionary waves they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral line. Ancestral line.
Staying strong on the bridge tonight. We got dreams and we got fight. Voices loud in the city's light. Change is coming into sight. History told by scars and pain. Echoes deep in every name. Legal truths we must reclaim. Through the storm and through the rain. Thorough black talk review. With Brother Tad, Sister K, Sister Marcia, Brother Blacksmith. Cut the check or no vote, yeah. Justice calls from open skies. Tears that fall, ain't no disguise. Marching forward, no surprise. Strength in hearts you can't downsize. Every voice a sweet refrain. In this fight we share the strain. Through the joy and through the pain, bound together like a chain. Thorough black talk review. With Brother Tad, Sister K, Sister Marcia, Brother Blacksmith. Cut the check or no vote, yeah.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, family. Welcome to another edition of Thorough Black Talk with your Sister K Fighter, Brother Tad, Sister Marcia, and Brother Blacksmith is ready to rock. We got to get it in heavy tonight. We giving praise to Gen X. Because Gen X been through a lot. I'll tell you that right now. And people coming for us, boy, I'm telling you, they coming for us. We're going to break it all down. We're also going to talk about, continuing Black Music Month. We're going to deal with the backlash that Beyonce now is getting for wearing a Buffalo Soldiers shirt. Boy, they just hating, boy. We're going to get into that. And then I got a couple of messages via TikTok, as it relates to why I believe Pan-Africanism may be flawed. And I wrote down some points and I will share those with you later on in the broadcast. And I think that once you see the points laid out, you can quite understand. But let this not be a dig or anything to my brothers and sisters around the globe that are on code and doing what they need to do for themselves. I love Black people. I love Black people. But as my mother used to always say, home is always first. Home is always first. So, without further ado, the OG Wisdom Podcast founder, Brother Tad, coming in up on the Brooklyn Bridge. Happy summer, Brother Tad. What's happening?
Hello.
What's going on, Brother Tad?
Ain't nothing going on but the rent. Trying to get it paid. I'm feeling blessed and highly flavored, sis.
Yes, indeed. I saw the broadcast on Sunday. If you missed it, family, you can always catch the replay posted on the Thorough Black Talk Facebook page. Now, before you watch it, put your feelings in your back pocket, okay?
Yeah.
Put your feelings in your back pocket. I wish somebody would have told D.L. Hughley that when he went on a tangent on TMZ.
Yo, he's feminine, very feminine.
Very much so. And, if you are confident in your perspective and point of view, and you have a standing to articulate your point, you don't have to go off into a tangent. And he just went off into a tangent. But we'll get into all of that. So, shout out to everybody who rode this past Saturday. It was like 100 degrees. We got it in 20 miles, baby. Everybody who rode with Good Coat Bike Club, we had a great time. Great time. I came home looking like man tan, boy. I'm telling you. I was the color of your shirt, brother, or our shirts, Brother Tad. It was hot, but it was a good ride. I didn't stay for the after party at Tompkins Park. I dipped up once we hit Eastern Parkway back on this side of town. I was gone home. But anyway, kudos to everybody who endured that heat. We lost no soldiers, and everybody was well hydrated. Thanks to everybody who provided all the coconut water and waters we had out there. And also, the people out on Coney Island Boardwalk, boy, they were showing us mad love. Like, who are y'all? What's all these Black people riding bikes? And every street we went up, Brother Tad, you had people with cell phones out, taking pictures, taking videos, people bumping their horns, giving us love. And as we rode past them, they were like, what's this about? It's Juneteenth. Ride with us. People who were riding on the road, an older gentleman who was riding his electric bike. He was like, what's this about? So I said, ride with us, brother, ride with us. But anyway, we started riding. And, as you know, Brother Tad, when you doing these bike rides, you can break off into groups.
Right.
And so the group I was with had the music jumping, boy. Want me to go home, boy. I had the speaker on 10, boy. It was off, but we had a great time. So kudos again to everybody who braved that heat. See you next year. So, Brother Tad.
Yes.
We are of the Generation X.
Yes, we are.
Those of us who were born, actually, between 1965 and 1980. Not the rest of you. Those of us who were born, matter of fact, let me put something up here. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
Sis, can you hear my AC in the background? Is it too loud? Is it no? That's good.
I had to take my lemon candy out because riding in that heat, it made my throat kind of hoarse. Right. So I've been taking this ginger and lemon candy. I made myself. Y'all better stop playing with me, boy. I don't play in that kitchen. Y'all better stop playing with me.
So 2 for 5.
245, Tad crazy. So, Gen X, those of us, like I said, who were born between 1965 and 1980. Now, I don't know if you noticed, Brother Tad, but there's been a lot of pushback on Gen X.
Of course.
People, coming out of pocket with a lot of things, talking reckless, being real disrespectful, if you will, about Gen X in light of what they're seeing now. Number one, with the politics of the country. Number two, the economy of the country. And number three, the FBA movement. So it's a lot that has been going on. But Brother Blacksmith, Brother Anunnaki, you ready to gallop? You ready to gallop in here? Let's get them up on the Brooklyn Bridge. Our very own Brother Blacksmith. What's happening?
Peace, Brother Black.
Peace to the family. What kind of crowd noise was that?
Oh,
That's true.
Gone a week and now you sound like an Anunnaki chair.
Look, I should have brought you in with the.
I gotta do something messed up first, bro. Come on now, give me a break. Sister Keisha, how you doing, love?
I'm minding my business.
I love your hat.
Starting trouble.
I love your hat.
Thank you. It's cool. Because it's been hot here. And so while I'm sitting here, I'm trying to work out these new controls we have now. Have you seen them?
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure out how to control Brother Black's thingamajig now.
Oh, just hit the X under his picture. Just hit the X. Because he came in starting trouble.
You see it? You see that, Black? Now you gotta come in here and behave.
Hey, Sister Keisha, Tad had a strafe set it off segment on one of his videos on oh y'all set it off. I was jamming I had to listen to the long version after that because it was only a segment of the song. Yeah, but it was jamming. Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my
Ralph
goodness.
McDaniels party. Ralph McDaniels and DJ Scratch birthday party.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of Gen X, tell us about it, Brother Tad.
That must have been crazy.
Oh man, was it? Yeah, shout out to my brother Mike Jones, the Brooklyn mayor.
Mike Jones.
Mike Jones. Yeah, hit me up like, yo, what you getting into tonight? I told him I might do karaoke, I might do the Brooklyn Bowl, or I might just stay home. He's like, yo, my flight get ready to land. He said, but I hear you in that stay home part. But then my dude, shout out to my brother Lounge Low from the 160, Wu-Tang and all that, the Boomer. He hit me like, yo, I'm in Brooklyn, come through. Went there, and I'm glad I went, Sister Keisha. I'm glad I went. Seeing my Fort Greene peoples up in there. Shout out to them. My brother Snap and everybody else all up in there. But you had Strafe singing Set It Off. You had the Jungle Brothers. You had Brand Nubian. You had the Group Home. Who else? You had Milk D. Who else? It was so many dope acts, and of course DJ Scratch on the 1 and 2s. And and Ralph McDaniels was spinning too, you know what I'm saying? But DJ Scratch gets fancy. I forgot who else was there. It was so many people there, and not just the acts, right, Sister Keisha, but as Gen Xers, it was our age range. People who's from the foundation of hip hop and who still knows how to party. So as you can see, it was a lot of people in there. You seen people dancing. Because these young folks, I don't know what it is, but they don't dance no more. Everybody go out just to drink and stand around and be on their phones. Only time we was on our phones was to record the people doing the 1-2. But when Strafe came out with Set It Off, I was like, oh man, here we go. And did you see his man doing the dance? Unc was getting it in. But that's what it's about, man. Life is short and we definitely got to enjoy it. So yeah, that was a dope joint. Shout out to Uncle Ralph, Ralph McDaniels, because as sure enough as we talk about Gen X's, there would be no BET and MTV and VH1 without Ralph McDaniels. People don't give that man enough flowers, and I guess because he was so local. But that's when hip hop was local, and he broke so many acts. Like, remember, he put us on to the X Clan before we even knew they did music. We just thought Black Watch was a political movement. but they was also a rap group, the X Clan. He put us on to them. Of course, he played Houdini's song "Never Change" from
Wait. But those of us in UAM, we already knew.
Oh,
why? Because his father was a member of UAM. But go ahead.
The late great Sonny Abubadika Carson. And if you don't know, I mean, and I'm gonna stay right here real quick, sis, because we can go so far with it. Because sure enough, as we talk about the X Clan and its relationship to Sonny Carson, we also got to talk about the movie, The Miseducation of Sonny Carson, which everybody likes so much. But if you fast forward a little bit and you go to Ghostface Killer's first album, Iron Man, he samples so much from that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of his snippets and skits on that Iron Man album come from Sonny Carson. Come from the
would you say that Gen X, would you say that our generation brought with us as we begin to grow some of the information and the foundation of what it meant to be significant with the baby boomers, right? Because as you say, he brought in Sonny Carson movie clips in that album, which is true, but that's the baby boomer generation.
Right, I was about to say, sis.
We
the bridge. We the bridge. We bridge the gap between the baby boomers and the Gen Zs, right? Because the Gen Zs are a little older. Then you got your millennials, right? But here's the thing. We brought in not only the culture, we brought in the knowledge and information, and we transformed it and made it palatable. Because in no history of humanity do you get grandparents like us looking this good, this vibrant, this active, and this still culturally in tune and intact. When I tell people I'm a grandfather, when I tell people, yo, my children older than you, they're like, God damn, how old are you? Yeah, I'm an old man. I understand, when I worked at the gym, I used to work at Blink Gym out in Coney Island, and the young people didn't believe I was the age I was. And I was telling them, because our generation, we're the young generation. The baby boomers gave us a lot of information, but we're the last of a dying breed. We're the ones who had an imagination. We knew how to have fun without the electronics. Though we did see the advent of the home computer and home video games, because when we was younger, you went to the arcade to play video games. The only time you was really on the computer is if you had a friend who family had money, or you just got on the computer at school. So we were the parents that bought our children home computers and video games at home, but we knew what it was to be outside. So with that outside, we traveled, we connected with people. We, especially as Brooklyn kids, we traveled all 5 boroughs because, and I think Brother Black can attest to this. I remember there was a time nobody wanted to come to Brooklyn. Only time you came to Brooklyn is you had to know somebody. It wasn't no just exploring and hanging out, like Brooklyn used to do. Like, you ain't got no money, just hop the train, go to the village and hang out. It's more than enough to see all the weirdos and stuff. People went to the village and had fun. You go to Papaya King, get 2 glizzies for $1. You know what I'm saying? Get the 50-cent franks and papaya drinks. With $2, you got a whole date, and you just walk around and explore the city, your backyard. So
it's funny you said that, because I'm telling you, you don't know how we move over here. Y'all really don't.
I don't want to go too deep, sis. Yeah.
Y'all don't know how we move over here. But I was looking earlier today and I saw this video and it reminded me of what you just said. I said, I got to play it real quick. Hold on, Dad.
Yes.
Hello, it's Dr. Darnese. And I keep seeing all these memes and whatnot about people asking where Gen X is. Where's Gen X? Who asking? I'll tell you where we are. We outside. Like we've been outside. We were raised outside. We were left outside. We didn't have no cell phones, nothing like that. We had pay phones. We had the mall. We could go to the mall and hang out all day. We were outside. Had to come home before the street lights came on in the summer. Where's Gen X? Listen, we're grown. We're too old to be young, too young to be old. So we're outside doing all the things we wanted to do. Anyway, we've been grown for a long time. We've probably been grown since we were 10, 12 years old, handling all our business, getting ourselves to school, taking care of younger siblings and cousins and whatnot. Gen X is outside. That's where we are. Bye.
Yes.
And what I just said, we were outside. And see, I think the part that a lot of people miss, see, with our parents, with the baby boomers, they're the people of the 60s and the 50s. They're pre-civil rights, so they remember a segregated America when it was the law to be segregated. We dealt with segregation, but that was just because of community and economics. So we knew what segregation was. We knew what racism was. We wasn't naive to that. But with that, we didn't let it slow us down neither, because as Gen Xers, we got that Black history and culture from little. We weren't confused about who other groups were. You know what I mean?
Let me get my sister Marcia up on the Brooklyn Bridge. Africans on the Rise very own. Sister Marcia. What up, what up, what up?
Hi, Sister Marcia.
Happy Blacktastic Thursday. Thank God the heat wave has broke. You know, I'm like a baby right about now. I got heat bumps coming up on me. It was unbelievable. But yet I still enjoyed the heat. I just don't know. Me and my skin was just arguing with each other about what's going on.
I got the same thing on my arm, sis, from the bike ride on Saturday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I am not the only one. I go out there in the garden and I come back and I'm like, maybe because I was wiping myself with my shirt because I was sweating so much. I got dirt in my pores and stuff like that. So I'm over here washing my face and I'm like, oh man, can't put too much soap on the face because then it's going to dry out the pores. Me and my face was going through it. Yesterday was me, Benadryl, and all those other drills to calm me down was an experience. But I'm so glad to be here again on this Thursday with my family, talking about our generation and how great and fabulous we are and continue to be, and all things Black.
That's right.
Hey, Sister Vanessa.
We getting into this Gen X. You know, we all Gen Xers. So let me get some shout outs real quick and we're going to get right back into it because it's about to get heavy. It's about to get heavy. Peace to our sister Vanessa. Yes, indeed. There was a reparations hearing in New York City today, but it was virtual. Shout out to Sister Brooke. You see, I'm going to get into that later. Yes, Sister Aruba 927 Doggy Diamond TV Mars. What's happening? Definitely glad to have you Black with us, sis. Aunt Marie, what's happening? Brownsville finest in the building. Let's get it. K Rush 409. Philly in here. What's happening? Let's get into it. So, we're talking about Gen X. As Tad said, we were the bridge generation, right? Because he mentioned, Ghostface album, which is killer to me. I always love Ghostface. Always. And any sister worth her salt understands why. But anyway, but we were the generation of hardship, not in a way where a compiling was done on Generation X, right? You had the silent generation who pushed through and lost pretty much everything, and the baby boomer generation trying to maintain it, right? And getting their footing, trying to reestablish communities, trying to reestablish a culture. And they did that. You got to give that to the baby boomers. You have to. All you got to do is look at your grandparents and think about the values or their ways and how they raised you and raised the community. Very much different than that of Gen X. And the reason why I came up with this topic is because, like I said, I've been seeing a whole lot of stuff going on social media, but also a condemning, if you will, of this generation from those who came after us, not the older millennials. However, the younger and the Zs are ticked off, if you will, even though they have been handed everything. But we're gonna get into all of that. We're gonna get into all of that. Shout out to Sister Pat. What it is. Yeah, K Rush, we was latchkey kids. You pick up your brother and sister from school, y'all get in the house. You better make that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Make sure my house stay clean. If I come home from work and my house is out of whack, I'm tearing everybody behinds up in here.
That is a fact.
That's what it was. And don't open my door for nobody. Right?
For real.
Don't open my door. Don't let my mama. Man, listen. Pat ain't play. Aunt Marie is in the chat. My mama ain't play. She was for real. But anyway, yes, don't open the door and don't turn on my stove. That's right, Sister Farnessa. That's what we had chores. That's right. Not sitting on a couch or on a bed playing video games for 12 hours a day and you ain't wash your ass. Like, it is crazy to me. And they can listen, some of them can walk around smelling for weeks and they don't even care. This is crazy. Meanwhile, if we even attempted something like that, not only would you got roasted, but you would have got your head split. For real. What up, Unc? I'm telling the truth. So let's get into it, family. And we're going to break it down as we go through it because it's a lot. It's a lot. So where's my tab? Oh, here we go. All right. So born between struggle and soul, the legacy of Black Gen X, a tribute to the unshakable generation, 1965 to 1980. Rise in the aftermath. And we're going to stop and we're going to go through some things in this, okay? Raised in the aftermath, shadows of the civil rights movement, dreams deferred, promises broken, navigating, redlining, underfunded schools, and systemic neglect. Brother Black, if you can, give me your take on what dreams deferred and promises broken mean to you.
Dreams deferred. What a dream deferred technically means, Sister Keisha, is having a goal in mind and having to put it aside because, you know, maybe you wanted to go to college, but then your girlfriend get pregnant. So now you got to work in order to support that coming baby. Or you wanted to go in the military, but you caught a charge and that charge got to be, you know, adjudicated before you can move to the next step, whether you're going to go or not. And then other things happen. And next thing you know, you're in a tailspin of actions of things that you wanted to do and had intention to do, but didn't get to do, or will have to wait at another time to do so. So, and the aftermath of that is where your life takes you. Hopefully you don't wind up in an asylum or a shelter or a prison or you know, some kind of hospital where, you know, a nursing home of some sort or something like that, and keep living your life. So, yeah, we here to try to talk y'all out of whatever tailspin you might be in, and some of us is going through stuff too. So, with that said, that's my answer, sis.
Thank you. Well thought out, Brother Tad, Brother Black. Very, Sister Aruba says, excellent interpretation, Brother Black. Sister Marcia, going to you now. When you think of, now you have to keep it in perspective of our generation only, okay? When it comes to navigating, redlining, underfunded schools, and systemic neglect, what do you think that means to not only our generation, but how do you think millennials and Gen Zers see it?
Well, I'll take it from the perspective of a mom, right? So I end up being a millennial mom, and the systemic neglect, especially as Jaquan is with unique needs, and what you know now and what you knew yesterday was two different things. What I know now is that I should not have chased the corporate American dream that was fed to me throughout my education, and truly focus on his needs because of the systemic neglect to unique individuals out here, and because his need is more physical and you can see it, versus people whose needs were, underlined and you couldn't see it. I realized that if you if you're working 9 to 5 or 9 to 12, 12 hours days, you cannot invest in your children's education as you need. And I couldn't do those things for my son. I would fight. Best believe I fought, but I was always rushing back to corporate America. Like, okay, y'all have 3 hours, and in these 3 hours, we got to take care of all of these items. Check, check, check. And then I'm rushing back. And so I couldn't invest myself in him and in myself. So this systemic neglect in education requires full-time parents, full-time, this is where a family is needed, where, a nucleus where, okay, you'll go fight this day and I'll go fight that day, and we're fighting for the same cause, and we have a purpose, and we have a dream. And then it comes back to Brother Black's question of it becoming deferred, because you can't fight all these battles on your own. And so I believe that I see systemic neglect in education and underfunding due to these reasons, that parents who know we're that bridge, right? We know all the studies that our children should be studying, right, in terms of their Black knowledge. And we also see that it's not provided. And so now you're trying to feed two tail ends, and you can't do it. So redlining in education is just is just a thing, and it requires a lot from parents to make sure that your child is getting adequate education, and that you're not suffering as well. And this is where single parenthood isn't the best, and you don't know what you don't know when you're 12, but you know what you know better when you're 30.
I feel you, sis. I feel you on that. Definitely appreciate that perspective. I put up this article and I put a copy of it in the chat. This is a 1984 article because you mentioned, being a mother, if you will, early on. And Brother Black also mentioned having dreams deferred because possibly you've gotten a female pregnant and now you have to defer things that you had planned because of the situation at hand. One of the things that, and I don't think I have heard anyone speak of when it comes to the way some Gen X mothers try to reclaim youth, if you will, and not having that nurturing spirit somewhat, is because, and people forget about this part that happened in our generation. If you were a teenage mother during this time, you were removed from school and you were put in a separate school for wedded mothers. For pregnant mothers. You were ostracized, if you will. Oftentimes when Black girls got pregnant up here in the North, they were sent down south to live with family members or to the other country of which you may have come from until that baby was born. Meanwhile, the boys who impregnated them were not ostracized in that way. And then you have to compile being ostracized, separated from family, separated from your friends and everything that you know because you are in a state of pregnancy for 9 months. That caused a lot of dissent, a lot of anger, and nobody ever dealt with it. It's not even spoken of. It's not even spoken of. And when you look at some of the behaviors that you see today, you know, I have to wonder, were they teenage mothers? Oftentimes, a lot were forced into abortion. This is just true. I mean, I remember school principals and what do you call it? Vice principals having meetings. Not only separating these females from school, but also never allowing them to come back again. It was crazy. It was crazy because on top of that, some of the women or girls who got impregnated at that particular time, their boyfriends got jammed up because they was hustling in the streets. So now there's a possibility of a baby being born incarcerated with its mother, separated, who is already separated from family. And some families here in the North, and I know some I grew up with, sent their daughters down south. And they came back grown, like 25. Like, what the hell? Where you been at? What's going on here? But, and that also was a part of the baby boomer generation, right? Young girls were getting impregnated 12, 13 years old, and a sister, or aunt, or the grandmother would raise the child as his own. These children will grow up. They now 30, 40, 50 years old and realize that the person they've been calling their big sister is actually their mother. See, we don't look at all of this psychological trauma when we get on these podcasts and media platforms and we just start spewing out stuff. You weren't there and you don't know what you're talking about. You know, so you have to look at, that's why I say when you study something, you have to look at the entire time period so that you can have a clear perspective on what it is that you're researching or reading. So,
can I speak to that real quick, Sister Keisha, or I'll let you finish first?
I'm going to finish it, then you go right.
Okay, got you.
So if this sounds familiar to you, let me know in the chat that I'm not bugging here. Sister Marcia was nodding the head, so I know what the hell I'm talking about. Go ahead, Brother Black.
From where I'm looking, that stems from that dynamic that kind of got crossed between native cultures and religion, because I don't know how they handled, being that I lived in Africa, I know how young girls grow up over there, vice over here, and it's way different. So not saying it don't happen over there, but it didn't happen as much, and usually it was inside of a tribe, especially if you live in a village. Now, if you live in a big city like Accra or Lagos or wherever the big city is in your country, it may be different because you're not around just your own people. You're around other, different people and so on. So it got mixed in, and then it became a religious thing during that time that we're talking about, because everybody fundamentally was to be Christian. If you were anything other than a Christian, like in the early 70s, and we see this in plenty of movies, oh, so you a Muslim now. It was like a common refrain because everybody was a Christian. That didn't start to the Nation of Islam and the Black community. So with that said, what I'm saying, it's a psycho situation. It's not just a physical or something. And like you said, sister, I'm gonna finish with this, Sister Keisha. Nobody talks about that shit anymore. I remember one time I went to go, we had some relatives not too far from where we lived in the Bronx at that time. And so, we used to go there often, at least 2-3 times a week. One day I go there, one of my cousins is missing. I'm like, where's such and so? Oh, she went down south. And I'm like, I was playing with her yesterday. What are you talking about? She gave me no indication. She was a little older than me. And, over the years, I found out what happened because she, like Tad said, she came back with 2 kids and looking totally older than the kid I remember. So with that, I yield.
Facts. K Rush said, yes, facts. I knew a few girls from where I grew up in Far Rock. Yes, this is what it was. Sister Aruba said yes. This is just a fact. This is what happened. She said, you not far off the mark, but I was blessed with a tight family who lived by a code and a motorcycle. I gotta laugh because I know what my aunt is talking about here. Yeah, I know, Auntie. I know. So
that's some dysfunctional Brownsville shit right there.
Now here you go. Here you go. What you talk about?
He just wanted
what
that.
Is you talking about? What is you talking about? But I know we didn't have to do that in our families.
Right.
I'm just saying, I just know what went on in the community, right? So, like my aunt said, we were blessed we are blessed. We live by a particular code in my family. But go ahead, Tam.
No, I was gonna add on to that because I'm glad you mentioned the baby boomers, because before my paternal grandparent, my grandma Bernice, before she transitioned, I interviewed her. And I asked her, what's the oldest relative she remembers? And she talks about her grandmother, my great grandmother, Sophie Mitchell. And she said, I always thought she was my mother and my mother was my sister. So it's funny you say that. She said until one day, my great grandmother, we called her Mama Granny, she came to New York. She moved to New York, then came back down south to get my grandmother. And she said, this is actually your mother. So that stuff you're talking about. And a lot of times I don't know if it's a cultural shift from us being indoctrinated by westernized society, or if that comes from, our being colonized as a group. But there became a part where having a new family was shameful. And I think it's only shameful when your family's not intact, when you don't have a village to rear that child, because children are a blessing. And many of us from Black families know, and as we got older and we learned about Dr. Francis Cresswell's theory, talking about fear of genetic annihilations, we're one of the few communities that was discouraged from expanding the family. Meanwhile, if you go to Asia, not particularly China, but if you go to India, Pakistan, and all these other places, they celebrate having a big family. And that's why I ask sometimes, is it the westernized mindset that makes us not want our people? Because then we can't negate Margaret Sanger and all that she's done with the eugenics movement and using the NAACP as a Trojan horse to come into our community and disrupt our family. Reading Howard Zinn's book, A People's History of the United States, one thing that stuck out to me out of all the stuff he talked about was white folks' deliberate intention to keep the family destroyed. They said no matter what they did to us, they realized as long as we kept our family intact, they couldn't break us. That was our spirit. That's why to sell a child or a significant other off was the punishment. And of course, Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about that in her book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, when she talks about having a conversation with the white woman, how Timmy is doing good, Timmy's doing great. She's like, yeah. She's like, but that Jamal is doing phenomenal. She's like, girl, he's a handful. She said, because through generations, we've been conditioned to talk down on our children, to minimize their value, so people won't take them from us. It's a coping mechanism we have. And I think us as Gen Xers, with us doing all the studying and researching and critiquing of even with our own family dynamics, we were able to put words to those behaviors and thoughts and break that mindset and paradigm. Granted, children out of wedlock, underage pregnancy, it is a problem within the society because we don't have the resources in place to properly sustain that child. So again, we go to Dr. Amos Wilson book, Developmental Psychology of the Black Child, and he talks about how do we feed the child? What is the environment for this child? You know what I'm saying? The loud music, the vulgar language, the cigarettes, the alcohol, this concentrated environment we're in. And for us as Gen Xers, dare I say, we're the first generation who actually advocate getting clinical help for our mental condition. We're the first ones to talk about, yo, I'm going to therapy. Our parents' generation thought, man, ain't nobody crazy. You don't need no therapy. You need your ass whooped. That's what's wrong with you. A good old-fashioned ass whooping to get you out of that. That was their solution because that was passed down to them, which was passed down to them. So with us as Gen Xers, we're able to peel back the layers and really dissect what has happened to us as a particular community. Even when, and I'm going to give the mic back to whoever wanted, even when we transition to the FBA and everybody having a problem with that, where we're starting to uncover now that many of us have been here prior to the Great Mayafa, known as the transatlantic slave trade. But then in the Pan-African movement, they don't see it as a contradiction because they'll cite Aviv Van Sertima and Dr. David Imhotep, you know, like we talked about 2 weeks ago. You know, you'll say black people was here prior to Europeans, but then when we could trace our family back, and some of us have been free and come from free families, y'all have an issue with that. And I'll be honest with you, me and Dog thought my grandmother was bugging because we subscribed to all black people came here through slavery, and my grandmother was around before black people was called black. So she always said, who said I'm black? Who said I'm black? Me and Dog, you say, yo, grandma bugged out. But we keep, like, our juvenile minds didn't register that our great grandmother was Native American. That's where we get the light complexion from. My grandmother's your complexion, Sister Keisha, but her mother is my complexion, you know, and she had turquoise and silver jewelry. You know, you could tell it's Native American. All we knew was grandkids, Ma's an Indian, but never did we equate that, of course, grandma must be indigenous too, if her mother is, because Ma was grandma's mother. Ma's my great grandmother. So I say all that to say that many of us this day and age run around with an eponymous identity, which means it's an identity we get from reading a book. It's like the Hebrew Israelites. They read the Bible. Oh, I'm a Hebrew. Only because you read a book. Not because your mom or your grandmama or your great-grandmama tell you because you read a book. Same thing with the Moors. It's an eponymous identity. How you a Moor and your grandmama ain't no more? Nobody in your family a Moor but you. Right. But with the FBA, we're lineage-based. How far can we track our history? Some people keep saying, yo, you can't. This is the argument. I don't have it with people. I just let them say dumb shit. But yo, you can't go past 18 such and such. You can't go because motherfucker, they ain't had a goddamn census back then. They didn't have census in the 1700s. So stop it. Stupid. But I'm not going to argue with these people because a lot of them are holding on to a eponymous identity. They read a book, say, oh, this is me. Identify with this. And we all done it. When I was a gangster, it's because gangsterism was sold to me as part of quote unquote black culture until I learned what being black really meant. And it's all about knowledge of self, knowing who you are. Stop accepting identities forced on you by other people because people thought I was Muslim. People try to recruit me for their churches. Dudes want me to join their social club. I've been invited to join the Masons. Like everybody wants to recruit everybody to adopt their ideology as opposed to just letting people be who they naturally are, who God made them to be. And that's what we promote on this. So I say that because as the Gen Xers, we peel back the layers and we don't accept things for face value no more. We not doing that no more. And I'm off my soapbox.
Go ahead, Sister Moss.
Well, I just wanted to chime in on the side of the topic where we talk about, giving our grandparents or a great aunt raising the child and stuff like that. I personally believe that's part of the survival, right? Part of not having the deferred dream that your parent or your family member has a dream for you. And in part of that dream, and part of allowing that dream to thrive is, I'll take care of the baby, you move forward and you do what you got to do. But I think where they messed up in that aspect was not allowing the child to remember who their true parent is, right? And with that, like when Jay was small and my mom would be taking Jay places from me to the doctor, whatever, and I would meet them up because again, I'm building this corporate lifestyle, right? So I would meet them up and they're like, "Oh, look, your sister came." Sister, I'm his mother. "Oh my God, you're too young to be his mother. Oh, you're so precious. Oh my goodness." And so it's the fact, especially for me, because one side of the story was my mother was like, you going to the clinic. You are, this is not happening, and the other side is, okay, this beautiful person is here and I will support my daughter however she wants after her anger subsided, right? And then she was like, "Oh, she's thorough with making sure he is good. So I will support that." And I think that's something people need to see too, that you are actually not just doing this because, because some people may have thought, "Oh, you doing that for the person that assisted in the conception." And I'm like, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, I was out having fun. I don't know anything else except that I was out here having fun and this happened. And when the universe gives you a gift, it is your responsibility to do good by the gift that you are given, because you don't know if you'll ever receive another gift like that again. So that's the part that I really wanted to chime in on, because I think our family, and our extended communities sometimes have a survival mechanism place. Like Brother Tad was saying with Mama Joy, she was talking about how you degrade your child in front of the person that may kidnap your child. "Oh no, Joey is bad. Joey is this. Leave my Joey alone." This is a survival mechanism that we codified, we built into our system and stuff like that. So it's good and then it's bad, because sometimes Joey out there listening and like, this is what my mother is taught. Yeah, this is what my mother is saying about me in public.
I ain't shit, so I ain't gonna be shit.
Exactly. Without having that conversation with Joey, is that I must protect you. I must do these things because this is what's outside. And that's where the boomers messed up. Boomers that are from America and who knows the American system and how America plays with Africans and Black people in general. And two, where, you are integrating into a country, warning people, having that conversation. And it's difficult conversations to have. Like now that I'm looking and I'm getting wiser, I see why it's so difficult to have certain conversations with people coming in, because this is not what they're here to try to. But at the same time, you came into a broken system. You left your broken system to come into milk and honey, and there's no milk and there's no honey. And you have to understand that. And to the, I don't know who was like, "Oh, we're going to, the Muslims, you want to be Muslims?" I think we're all about to be Muslims here in New York, the way things are going. But that's
not going to happen. Not going to happen. It's all smoke and mirrors. And I'm going to tell you, next week, we'll deal with it, because it's a lot to peel back, because it's not just this election, but it's in various cities. And right now,
yeah, I was going to ask you a question real quick, sis.
Go ahead.
Before we go to Brother Black, right? So, what Sister Marcia just said, and with this election, do you think it'll still be Town? You think NY still be Town? Okay.
Why are you asking us such a deep question, bro? What's up with that?
Because we're not shallow.
That was a heavy one, bro. Woo.
Go ahead, Black.
Let me down. Only Gen X, right?
Real talk.
He
There
did
was
it.
there was a scholar back in the day, and it helped me if I to remember his name. He used to always say, the only thing wrong with black folks is white folks. And that's what that whole, do y'all remember who that was? He used to say it all the time, but I don't remember who it is.
I'm thinking Bobby Wright. I'm thinking Dr. Bobby Wright.
Could be. I know he was a renowned scholar, but I don't remember who it is. But that conversation y'all just had, and it was profound, by the way. I saw all your points. But that's what he used to say and that reminded me of that conversation. As well, Sister Sia, what I wanted to say in particular to something you said was blaming errors of people. We must understand that even in those times, there were gifted people such as ourselves who was trying to advise our people, and they got shunned and all. Like I said, oh, so you a Muslim now? Like Brother Tab was saying a little while ago, people used to think it was Muslim, right? Because when you from a righteous position, it's like how Muslims speak, because they believe in Allah and that you submit to that and all that, and that makes me infallible of sinning against you, while they do the same shit any nigga would do to you. So the point I'm trying to make when I say that is that we recognize the people in their time, and that most of them just followed suit to whatever was the popular opinion of the day. So to blame them is to, like, knowing that they had those people in that era, people, just because there's 1,000 Malcolm X's and they chose him for that position for strategic purposes that we now see playing out in the long run.
I'm Malcolm X.
All those religions ain't nothing but organizations.
I am Malcolm X.
I am Malcolm X.
I am Malcolm X.
Okay.
I am Malcolm X.
I am Malcolm X. I am Malcolm.
I would chime in, but I'm laughing.
You didn't chime in. You. What happened?
I was laughing.
Malcolm X?
I was laughing. I was feeling it.
Y'all Gen Xers are crazy. Where y'all get that from? What's wrong with y'all Gen Xers? I am Malcolm X. Like you said, it was 1,000 Malcolm X.
They can't help themselves. They can't help themselves, y'all. They can't. Pray for my family over here.
And so on. But we only hear about those. And with that said, I'm going to give the mic back up to Sister Keisha. How's that?
Let me tell you something. Y'all, I'm going to need y'all to pray for my family over here. Just keep them in your thoughts and prayers on a daily basis, because they need it. You know what I mean? They need it. We grew up in the shadows of the civil rights movement. On top of carrying over the Black Power movement, right? Now, when you look at the ending, I would say the ending of the baby boomer generation, right? Because like here, it says for Gen X, the crack epidemic and mass incarceration, police brutality and surveillance, economic abandonment of Black communities, yet resilience became their foundation. Now, before there was the crack epidemic, there was the heroin epidemic, right? Now, I don't know if y'all know the youngest person to ever die from a heroin overdose. You know his name?
No.
He died on East 116th Street, and his name was Walter Vandermeer. And there is a short film about his death. As a matter of fact, after I show this, I will put the link to the film, excuse me, in the chat. But Walter, very, very interesting story. And for those of you from New York and you remember this, let me know if you do or not. But his mother brought him and his family up from South Carolina. His father, I tell you, look how things work. His father was from Suriname, I believe. and he was deported. And the mother was left with the 9 children. Now, Walter Vandermeer, started doing, bad things. He don't have his father around. His mother is busy trying to make a living. They struggling and what have you, and thrown into this new world here called New York. So, he was sent to various discipline schools and things of that nature. Anyway, he ends up hustling a little bit and started getting high. Now, this took place in 69. You have to also remember, that's why I don't like Spanish Harlem to this day. It always was a piece of trash, and I don't care what anybody says. Because it was a hotbed for degeneracy. Think about Frankie Lyman, right? Also, addicted to heroin around the same time, later on in his life, I would say, in early years. But he too was a child addicted to heroin. When you look at the end of the baby booming generation, and you start to see the increase of the drug epidemic, and when you look at a lot of these cities now, I know y'all in New York, some of y'all came here now and look all shiny, but I'm telling you, it was rubble. It was pure rubble. If you don't believe me, put in your Google search or whatever it is you got, and put in East Harlem, 1950s, 1960s, or the Bronx, same time period, and see what the hell the neighborhoods look like. So now you have Gen Xers who are coming on top of this drug epidemic, and it didn't stop there, because during the Black Power generation, right, that's when you had the LSDs, and you had cocaine was growing at that time, and so it seemed to be an onslaught, if you will, of narcotics influx, compounded. So some of our parents were addicted to heroin, right? Strung out on heroin. Some of our aunts and uncles strung out on heroin, right? Then you have our generation, right? So we got to deal with that. On top of being latchkey kids, on top of the crack epidemic, on top of Reaganomics. For those of you who don't know, you should know. If you're a voter and you don't know what hell Reaganomics is, if you work and you get a paycheck and you don't know what Reaganomics is, then you lost. Okay? But anyway, all of this came up on the heels of all of that, right? Now, moving towards the 1980s, right? There was a financial boom for a lot of folks on Wall Street and everything. There was a lot of money, even in the drug game. Money was flowing. Money was flowing. And anybody who tells you different is a liar. So now, what happens? You had organizations that were formed. Hold on, let me show you. Let me switch screens for a second. Okay, can you see the right column with all of these say collection organizations? If you click on all of these or just a few of them, not only are they talking about the teen pregnancy at that time, but they're also talking about drug addiction, HIV, all of this. So I have a cadre of files here from my city. So, and I'm sure you can find it for your city. But New York was heavy and thick during that time. So I have all of the government archives right here. All of their archives right here. Whether it was the Bronx, it was Brooklyn, wherever, their meetings they held about it, all of this. Then you had all of these scare tactics. I don't know if you all remember, but you had the scare straight and, all of these things that were happening at the particular time. And at the same time, a creation was being formed. A new music genre was being formed. out of a pressure cooker, right? And this is something that those of us who was born 1965 to 1975, yeah, we was in the thick of it from the beginning. Whether you was a toddler or a little kid dancing at the family cookouts, the family house parties, every Friday, Aunt so-and-so bringing her kids over to your house or vice versa, and so on and so forth.
Best times.
Best times. Best time. Did you hear Brother Knowledge born last week? He said him and his parents, they used to walk from Newark to Brooklyn. I remember those late night walks walking from Putnam Ave, where Aunt Ebby lived at, back to Fort Greene. I mean, and we didn't feel no type of way. We didn't feel no type of way. You go home, you go on the street, you by yourself. Now today, children can't even take a piss without having their hands held.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? What do you think that comes from? Whoever wants to take it, where do you think that comes from? Because if we were so tough and we, are the bridge generation, if you will, how do you think this played out?
I think
I'm
gonna pass you my Sister Marcia. I think it was just the trauma, because sure enough, as we were Gen Xers, we also seen the rise of the crack. We also seen the violence that came with it. Because prior to the epidemic, we were still safe. I was 12 years old and I used to go to Park Hill Projects. You know what I'm saying? I was 12 years old. I'll never forget. I said, Mom, can you take me to Staten Island? She said, you know how to get there, right? Yeah. Take the C train to Broadway and Nassau, take the 4 train to the ferry. And then once I get across the water, I know how to get to their house from there. She said, well, go ahead. 12 years old. I was allowed to go. And you know what? Nobody, no junkie, nobody never cussed me. Nobody never chased me in my travels. I used to be all over. I think with our generation, once the violence came and innocent children started getting hurt because of the trade, that puts a lot of fear in the Gen Xers and many of them, because fear is a deliberating emotion. The fear made people just want to hold their children tighter, and they did more harm than good. It's almost like, and I'm gonna make this analogy, Sister Marcia, and I'm gonna pass the mic. It's like the butterfly in the cocoon. You know what I mean? You can see a butterfly struggling, but if you open that cocoon and let that butterfly out, that butterfly won't have the strength to fly because it hasn't developed its wings through the struggle to break out the cocoon. So we do that with our children. We keep them so safeguarded and we do so much for them that they don't struggle, so they don't develop the strength and life skills that's necessary to really flourish out here and have a level of discernment. So many of them are followers, but that's the Gen Xers, that fear. They let the butterfly out the cocoon too soon. They didn't let the butterfly struggle, so that butterfly didn't develop its wings so that it could carry its own weight. So in essence, you pretty much doom that butterfly to stay on the ground. And that's what happened to so many of the YNs and the millennials that we see. They're so entitled. They don't really know what it is to pack bags for a few coins or pump gas. That's how I used to get my hustle on. I pumped gas, packed bags, and stocked shelves and sold watermelon on the side of the road. Anybody who was getting money, can I help? What can I do? Passed out flyers and all that. But Sister Marcia?
So what I was going to say from my angle, Brother Tad, you're 100% on it. My angle is also that, Gen X's who came up and were able to do a lot of things for themselves, build that whatever American dream, they were like, oh, my kid is not taking the bus. I'm driving my child. I'm doing everything. My child is doing this because I'm taking my child. My child has to go to football practice. I'm driving my child, not a bus that come and pick up the block and take them to baseball, football, basketball practice. And yeah, I get it. Like there were, so like some of the things that I'm learning right now is because I know abuse in-house, I don't know abuse outside. And the abuse outside that many people know, that was their safeguard. Like, oh, I know this abuse outside. So this is why I'm taking my child on the bus to this and that. Because I know, a huge child who is 15, never took the city bus. And now the parent is like, oh, they're going to go take the city bus. Said, you can't just throw him to the wind like that. You should have been taking him on the city bus a long time ago. Not just like now you're just going to go take the city bus. And when I used to say, let me pick him up, I'm going to take the bus with him. Oh no, not my child. I'm going to drive. I'm going to do this. So this protectiveness, this coddled situation gives, and let's not call them YNs. Let's be bigger than that. These young adults, don't understand how to thrive out here because they have been coddled so much, or they don't know. You have 40-year-olds today that don't do dishes, and I don't understand how you don't do dishes. You're a grown person, you're a millennial, and you can't do dishes. There are so many things that people have. Oh, my little prince, my little princess, and now they're older and their parents are, transitioning. They got to thrive out here, and they're not going to know how to thrive because they spent the majority of their life being coddled, because I must protect my child as this, as that, and not allow them to grow up in the world. And this is the danger that we face.
I feel you, sis. I feel you. But for me personally, I never babied my daughter. Ever. As a matter of fact, when she was in kindergarten, we would take the same route every day on the B-54. Okay. So one day I said because I would drop her off at my mom's house and then Myrtle Avenue bus. And we would always get off by Fort Greene Park to go to my mother's house. So I told her one day, I said, what stop we get off next? No kids. I don't know. You don't? Okay. I got off the bus and left her right there. Got off. I bet you she got off the next stop and knew where to get off. And we talk about that to this very day. She said, Ma, first I was scared, and I was like, no, I ain't scared. I know where I'm going. Not knowing that I was there the whole time watching her. But I'm just saying, the baby and stuff, I let her go through some hard times. I don't play that kind of stuff. And I don't like nobody who does it. Because you make a bunch of coddlers out here, and they're a bunch of soft suckers. I'm sorry. Cry about everything. And even like, go outside. Still. Take your outside. Go find a friend. Get out of here.
I'm gonna go outside. It's so scary outside. I want to go outside. I feel like breaking.
Give up this in the PS3 and all that.
I feel like breaking all of these things called video games, cell phones, everything, and having them have a year without it because they don't know how to live. They can't talk to their friend. Their friend is like across the street. And they sitting there, hey, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you know what? When I was your age, I did call my friend. I'm coming outside. Come outside. Hang up the phone. Not spend 3 hours on the phone and y'all right across the street from each other. You're crazy.
But Sister Marcia, this is what I was talking about. There's through time. So let's go back to the 60s. Let's go back 50, 60 years. Through that time, there was always us. So imagine us being this same age in 1968. We'd be the same way, but just with what is happening in the times we're in. So instead of hearing about Tupac and Biggie and all these Rich Homie Quan rappers that died young, we'd be thinking about Janis Joplin and the greatest guitarist ever, the black guy from Seattle. Yeah, why I can't get his name right now? Y'all know what I'm talking
Jimi
about.
Hendrix.
And
Jimi
Hendrix, thank you, my brother, and people like that. That would be we will all have afros and be saying, man.
No,
I
agree. I agree. I'm not in disagreement. The thing that I don't like about this generation, and we're creating this, right? This generation, these younger, what would they be? Gen something, Gen something.
Gen Z.
No, they're a little later than that. I'm talking about the 15-year-olds, not the alphas, right before the alphas, but these little people, those people, the 15-year-olds today. The problem is I wouldn't want to be them. I wouldn't want to grow up as a child in this age because there is no fun. I can't sit there. Even when AOL AIM came out, I could not get with it. I was not a huge texter and stuff like that on the phone. So I can't get with just being in the house. I can't get with that. And I'm a homebody. You know, like my parents made sure I was in the house all the time, but I can't get with being in the house purposely all the time. I just can't get it. There's something wrong.
Welcome. You've got mail.
And that would be exciting too, though. Oh, I got mail, and then you can see it's all spam. All spam. Or when they tell you somebody's chatting, and Aruba. What's Aruba's tag? Aruba 9027 is in the chat house, and you're just like, oh, or MySpace. I didn't get into those type of technology.
What was your name back then?
Sia in the house.
I had two names.
What's your name?
Rudy Rude and Black Fruit Punch. Fruit with two O's. Black Fruit Punch.
Oh, you were fruity.
You had like when you
flavorful. Not fruity. Watch your mouth.
He said flavorful, not full.
Hold up. This not for you, Black. This for Marcia.
You get it. Two O's, fruitiful.
Oh my God, I can't with them. They need help, y'all. I tell you, I keep them in continual prayers because they can't
Vera,
help.
what's your MySpace name? Vera said MySpace page. Remember that?
Oh yes. So now we had cinema and film, right?
Oh yeah.
During our time, you had producers like Spike Lee, John Singleton, Julie Dash, making films reflecting Black life. Oh yeah, the Hudlin brothers.
Yep.
All of that.
Yeah.
All of that. And but at the same time, we saved Hollywood. Gen X saved Hollywood. You don't believe me? Go look what the film Blaze did. I'll wait. They were on their dying day. Hold on. Even like during the earlier parts of the 70s, the Black exploitation films, we saved Hollywood. Black culture saved Hollywood. The good, the bad, and the ugly have always saved this country. We had dual lives. We the first to do code switching. You know, grew up with different cultures, you know, survival, church choirs, and corner bookstores and all of that. That was our generation, right? The digital pivot, right? From souls to screens. Gen X pioneered digital activism. Early adapters of online organizing set the tone for social justice landscape we see today. Out of all of that, we still pushing forward. Community over chaos, builders in the rubble, mentors. I meant to put Jegners in it. That's why that's highlighted. But that auto type drives me nuts. Anyway, organizers, educators, protectors, youth programs, community radio. Yeah, community radio was lit.
Yeah.
It was so lit. That's why Spike Lee had that character written in to do the right thing with Samuel Jackson playing the part.
Brother Love.
Yes.
We love Reggie.
Oh God. Yes. So anyway, like I said, reclaiming neighborhoods one block at a time. Cultural symbols of an era, snapshots of Gen X life. From the Brooklyn stoops and brownstones, HBCU step shows. If you ain't never been to an HBCU step show, in the early days, you ain't see Jack. You ain't see Jack. If you never been to an HBCU campus in the late 80s, early 90s, you don't know Jack. You don't know Jack. Matter of fact, all of these artists today, all of them, used to put their their cassettes at HBCU parties. This is a fact. They would send the DJs down there, and the DJs would send runners. They were called runners to bring them cassette players and stuff from the radio station down to the college campuses. Facts. So, Black Gen X was never forgotten. They were the blueprint. Every cultural wave since rides on their rhythm. Their legacy, survival with soul. No matter what anybody tells y'all, we had to do it on our own. We were the first generations to lose whole families to a drug. Whether you was hustling it or family members who was using it. And I'm talking about, I've seen stand-up cats. Is this mother ever smoking? From the Jerry curls to the, I don't know, he was looking crazy. I saw some, I ain't going to get into it, but this is what we came out of. And out of all of that, I want younger generations to see the complete picture of everything that we have been through and everything that we continue to go through. Because even so, with all of that struggle, our music became stronger. Our music got stronger because that's the inspiration that we have, survival and struggle. Out of that pressure comes diamonds all the time. So, it's still Black Music Month. And Black Music Month is not just a commemoration, it's a claim. This month belongs to the descendants of those who created every major American music genre from the soil of struggle, joy, pain, and resistance. Think about the soundtrack of the Civil Rights Movement. Think about the soundtrack of the Black Power Movement. Think about the soundtrack of our movement. Public Enemy, X-Clan, Tribe Called Quest. It was a soundtrack for a movement because during that time, we had a litany of racial injustices across the country. There were church burnings on a regular. There were murders of innocent Black people. You had the Atlanta child murders. Remember that? Yeah. Parents were afraid to let their children go outside for like a week or so.
Eleanor Bumpers.
We went through a lot. Don't forget the heavy surveillance now.
Yeah.
We had heavy surveillance in our neighborhoods and communities, and not just poor neighborhoods and communities, but well-to-do neighborhoods. Remember the murder in Bel Air? Yeah. So again, it was across the board. But when you look at our music and our cinema, when you look at a coming of age and each and every genre, there was at least a push for self-reliance and to be prideful in your Blackness. Shows like The Cosby Show also had a great music catalog. Like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when I talked about Coco Taylor. I remember the scene where Raven Simone's character, Olivia, she had a cold and a sore throat. And it was the grandparents' anniversary, and this time she wanted to perform. And so what Cliff did was he convinced her to lip sync while he played Coco Taylor's song in the background. And she lip synced to Coco Taylor. You don't believe me? When I'm done, go to YouTube and put in Olivia Sings for Grandpa and Grandpa and the Cosby Show. And then she's singing Coco Taylor's song. So the legacy from gospel to blues, from jazz to soul, from funk to R&B, from rock and roll to hip hop. Foundational Black Americans are the originators. Our sound built the sound of this country. Every genre of every era. Gospel gave us power. Jazz gave us freedom. Soul gave us truth. Hip hop gave us voice. Across generations, foundational Black American music has set the tone and changed the world. Not just celebration, but elevation. June is more than a time to celebrate. It's a time to elevate the conversation. Black music didn't just entertain, it educated, organized, and mobilized. Now it must also inspire justice. Why it matters? Black music shaped the nation's identity, but the creators were excluded, exploited, and erased. This month we remember and we reclaim. Culture without justice is a cover-up. Black Music Month is a time to celebrate, a time to correct, a time to claim what's ours. This is just fact. This is just fact. Because as this reparations movement continues to grow, and shout out to the brothers and sisters from around the world. You know, these older millennials, younger Gen X's are killing the game right now. And they creating their own soundtrack to the movement. And hopefully next week, I'll be able to get into some of that. Again, we always have our call to justice. The link to sign and join the email writing campaign is always in our description. Always in our description. You just click it. It'll do everything you need it to do. Okay? I have to say that because right now, a new movement is afoot. And some of you are being left behind. Some of you are confused. Some of you are frustrated. And some of you are annoyed. Some of you are overjoyed. Some of you are excited. Some of you have fire in your belly. And some of you are ready to get it popping. So again, out of no matter what you say about Gen X, the fire you see with the movement right now, we created it because we went through the worst of troubled times in the last 3 generations. We went through the worst of it. Right now, other generations, they are dealing with a lot of, I guess you would say, the economic blowback of what we missed. And what we destroyed. You know, I have to also say that we destroyed a lot because we just didn't know. We just didn't know. And so before I move on to the next topic, I just wanted to share this because, again, there's a lot of information, a lot of things being spewed about certain groups. And I just wanted to give a little bit of a foundation so that you can hopefully grasp an understanding of what it is you're seeing with the movement right now. People wanted to know why all the name changes. You know, first you African, then African American, you was Negroes and all this old kind of stuff. Well, we didn't change our identity. Society changed our identity. Government changed our identity. In fact, like I tell you, when I have the class, and it will be next month, on genealogy and how you can research your family's history, you will see how they changed our identity. And I'm not talking through census, because we know the census didn't start popping until the 1800s. I'm talking about letters of birth. For example, my great-grandfather, I have his letter of birth. And I can show you where his identity was changed. Those of you who are related to me in the chat, you can confirm what I'm saying. But I just want to go through this real quick to hopefully give a bit of an understanding. Okay? Let me move this. Okay. The name African American and the evolving ethnic identity of Black Americans, particularly for foundational Black Americans or FBAs. The descendants of those enslaved in the United States are rooted in centuries of social, legal, and political shifts that began in the 1600s. Here's a clear breakdown of how and why those changes happen. I'll make this a little smaller so y'all can see it because I know y'all can't. All right. So from the 1600s to the 1700s, from African ethnicities to Negroes or slaves. These people were from different ethnic groups, Igbo, Akan, Yoruba, Congo, etc. But over time, they were stripped of their languages, religions, tribal identities. Colonial laws gradually codified slavery based on race, replacing ethnic identity with a legal status, Negro, slave, or color. Right? Enslavement disconnected Black people from their ancestral nations, creating a new forced identity shaped by labor, resistance, and survival in America. Now, I listed various African identities here. What I didn't list, and I put etc., is what you should already know. The people who were already here. Before all of this took place, the people who were already here. And this is what we're going to go through. Why identity change? Systemic erasure through slavery. Africans were renamed, reclassified, and forced into a racial caste. 1800s, colored, Negro, then freedmen. After emancipation, Black Americans began to call themselves freedmen, asserting a new legal identity. During Reconstruction and Jim Crow, white society commonly referred to them as Negroes or colored, terms that became institutionalized by the government and the census. Again, forced and controlled. Black leaders like W.E.B. Du Bois used Negro in scholarly and political language, though at the early 20th century, some objected to it as a relic of oppression. Why the identity change? Post-slavery society tried to define and limit Black identity legally and socially. Black people began to reshape that identity. 1960s to the 70s, from Negro to Black. The civil rights and Black power movements rejected Negro as a term forced by white society. Activists like Stokely Carmichael or Kwame Ture encouraged the use of the term Black, a name rooted in pride, growth, and unity, strength and unity. Brother Tad just mentioned to you his grandmother used to always tell him, "Who said I was Black?" You see how something can be thrown on? And because of the popularity, people run with it. That's why I put etc. next to those tribes, because etc. means we kept having our identity change. We already had our own identity, but I'll continue. This was a radical shift. Black is beautiful became a slogan of the time. Why identity changed? Black Americans were reclaiming self-definition, rejecting derogatory labels, and unifying around a political and cultural movement. from 1980s to today, African Americans became popular. That name, African Americans, became popular. Okay? 1988, the civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson publicly, promoted the term African American, emphasizing heritage and linking Black Americans to a historical continent, as other ethnic groups like Irish American or Italian American. Who said we wanted to be linked? Who gave? You see what I'm saying? That's why you got to put things in writing so people can see shit. Okay? U.S. institutions, media, and school quickly adopted the term. However, not all Black Americans embraced it, especially foundational Black Americans. Again, remember, Tad grandmother said, who said? Who said? Okay? And they thought she was crazy.
Yes, we did.
Because they grew up like we grew up in indoctrination by force. Okay? So, again, foundational Black Americans who argued that it erased their unique lineage as descendants of U.S. slavery. You know why grandma said so? Because grandma understood. Why identity change, political correctness, a desire for ethnic parity, and heritage pride, but at the cost of flattening distinct histories. Today, African American, Black, FBA, ADOS, descendants of freedmen. Today, Black Americans may choose from several identifiers: Black American, general, cultural, and racial identity. African American emphasizes ancestry, still widely used in formal settings. Foundational Black Americans, or ADOS, American descendants of slavery, focuses on lineage tied to U.S. chattel slavery, excluding recent Black immigrants. Freedmen. Come on, great grandma, I hear you calling from me. Freedmen, a legal political identity used by those fighting for specific reparative justice claims. Why identity continues to change. Black Americans are asserting more specific, accurate, and politically strategic identities tied to lineage, history, and justice. In summary, the ethnic identity of Black Americans has never stood still because it was never freely chosen. And in the beginning, each change reflects a struggle against imposed labels, a response to evolving legal and political realities, a search for dignity, power, and self-determination. So I hope that gives a little bit more clarity to some folks who may not understand what has happened with us over the time. So grandma was right. We was the crazy ass ones.
Sure.
So your thoughts, family, on the explanation to the best of my ability. Okay? Go ahead.
You broke it down because my grandmother was born in 1936. You know, like you said, when did that term Black come into play? And we got to remember, again, it was a social construct, just like the creation of whiteness. You know, so anything opposite of what our oppressors are, we're going to adopt that. But I'm loving the FBA. I'm loving the freedmen because we need clarity right now. But before I pass the mic, I do want you to touch again. Somebody in TikTok want to know why Pan-Africanism won't work. I want you to touch on that real quick. Can you, sis?
I got you. I was pulling it up.
Okay. See, that's why you my sister.
So yeah, we don't play. Y'all better stop playing with thorough Black talk. We thorough, god darn it. But let's get into it. And this is from my perspective, okay? Why I feel is flawed, not Tad Marcia and Brother Black. Okay? But if you agree, you agree. If you don't, you don't. But this is my explanation. All right? Why Pan-Africanism is flawed. Pan-Africanism, while rooted in noble intentions of unity among people of African descent, has faced major criticism, especially from foundational Black Americans and some Black Caribbeans, because of survival structure, cultural, and political flaws. Below is a breakdown of the key reasons many argue that Pan-Africanism has not truly benefited Black Americans or Black Caribbeans in a practical term. Let's break it down. Different historical realities. Foundational Black Americans are descendants of those enslaved in the U.S. and have a unique history tied to U.S. laws, land, labor, and ongoing systemic injustice specific to America. Okay? Caribbean people often have post-colonial relationships with the British, French, or Dutch empires, and many have migrated to the U.S. with different social and legal statuses. Pan-Africanism tends to flatten these distinct experiences into one broad Black identity, which often ignores the specific struggles and reparations claims of FBAs and certain Caribbean descendants. And I'm asking all my Caribbean brothers and sisters, show me which African organization or nation is fighting on your behalf. I'll wait. Lack of tangible policy or power. Pan-Africanism has largely been symbolic rather than practical. It hasn't translated into real power, economic uplift, or protection for FBAs or our Caribbean brothers and sisters in the diaspora. Pan-Africanism don't work for us. Despite decades of Pan-African conferences, declarations, and slogans, it hasn't produced unified political or economic systems that materially benefit everyday lives of these groups. There is no Pan-African military, legal, or trade power that protects or advances Black people globally. Now, tell me where I'm lying at. No shared political or economic agenda. There is no universal agreement among African nations, Caribbean countries, or Black Americans about how to achieve liberation or what priorities should be. In practice, African countries rarely support Black Americans on the global stage. Examples, during UN votes or in global human rights campaigns, they ain't on it. Caribbean nations often prioritize their own national interests and immigration policies over Pan-African solidarity. Cultural clashes and anti-FBA sentiments. Many FBAs have pointed out that Pan-African spaces can include disrespect or dismissal of their unique history, culture, and identity. Some African or Caribbean immigrants have promoted negative stereotypes about Black Americans despite calls for unity under Pan-Africanism. There is often gatekeeping, erasure of FBA culture within Pan-African spaces, especially in discussions of music, activism, and history. Case in point, UAM will hold weekly lectures. All of y'all on the panel know this.
Yes.
Operated from a Pan-Africanist mindset. However, when automatics was illegally disbarred from the practice of law in the state of New York, where were those African groups at? Some of which he helped. Again, where were they? And I'm telling you, they was nowhere to be found. And everybody talking about Pan-African this and Pan-African that, and they know the hell what I'm saying is true. So moving on, Africans and Caribbean nations prioritize national interests. Many African nations maintain economic and political ties with colonial powers, whether it be France, the UK, China now, whatever, over any real Pan-African unity. You already unified with China. That's why they could come in and beat the hell out of your workers and nobody do nothing. That's why they could come in and now be members of the ANC. But you want me to be down with y'all. Is you out your goddamn mind? Moving on. Caribbean countries continue to rely on relationships with former colonizers for trade, tourism, and migration rights. These realities contradict Pan-African rhetoric and show that global Black unity has not been prioritized over national survival or elite interest. It undermines reparations. Pan-Africanism can muddy the waters when FBAs demand reparations from the United States government. Case in point, when, like I said on this platform, when apartheid was running rampant, it was Black Americans who put pressure on businesses who did business in Africa and made sure that they divested from South Africa so that apartheid could end. That's why on episodes of A Different World, they talked about it. They brought Miriam Makeba in. The Black HBCUs often, every weekend just about, had rallies on their campuses forcing businesses to divest from South Africa. Even some of the college campuses that they were on, they forced them to divest. Where are the Black organizations or African organizations, Caribbean organizations that are putting pressure on the United States government, who they do business with, some of them, to force them to give us reparations? Oh, wait. It doesn't exist. I don't care what anybody says. Now, when you look at places like Burkina Faso, let's use Burkina Faso. Right now, there's a movement, hands off Ibrahim Traore. How many Black organizations, Caribbean or African, said, hands off Brother Divine Prince? Hands off. Anybody? I was in the heat getting signatures for Mrs. Diallo. Who's in the heat sending emails on behalf of reparations? You even got to send the heat. It doesn't exist. If everyone is considered African or Black, then who gets paid for U.S. slavery? I'll wait. Because everybody trying to grandfather clause themselves in it. Even this Zoram Mandabi, or whatever the hell his name is, that's running for mayor here in New York City, an Indian Ugandan who used Black culture, cosplaying, to gain favor. Some Pan-Africanists argue for global reparations, which dilutes the unique legal and moral claim of FBAs have against the U.S. government for domestic slavery and systemic oppression. In summary, Pan-Africanism, while well-intentioned, is flawed because it lacks practicality, ignores key cultural differences, and often undermines the specific political and economic agendas of Black Americans or Caribbean. It is often used as a rhetorical tool rather than a framework for real world empowerment or reparations. Now, in your Google search or your chat GPTs, whatever the hell you use, put in Pan-Africanism. Look at the full definition and see who it favors. It was never meant to favor the diaspora. That was a trick bag. It was a trick bag. It was a trick bag. So, I'm off my soapbox. That's my stance on where I am with Pan-Africanism. Uncle Jesse said, talk about it.
How about the Prince of Pan-Africanism?
We had to boycott. We had to boycott Diallo for Diallo. That's right. The Easter boycott. That's right, sis. Out here looking crazy. Nowhere to support him, Sister Pat. Nowhere. You know how many Caribbeans families Alton with the bat for? Nowhere, you lying cocksuckers. Don't play with me.
And you know, sis, I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be one of my questions. You know, being a person that worked within the the United African Movement.
Yes, sir.
What was the pivot? You know, and you explained it. It's something I already suspected, but I'm glad you put it in context because, again, you know, here we are going to bat for every other group, but nobody goes to bat for us. Even when you fast forward to today, where the Latinos are now upset that we're not out in the streets for them, and we're like, no, we're no longer Operation Human Shield. You know, we get out there, we be on the front line. As soon as they start busting shots and throwing blows, we getting hit first. Operation Human Shield. They hide behind us, and then once the smoke clears and the biscuits are handed out, we get deaded. We get deaded. We put in all the work, you know, even with the civil rights movement. You know, we took the ass whippings, we took the hoses, we fought the dogs and the deletions and lynchings, but somehow everybody benefit from it.
Yes,
and
sir.
no longer will we do that. And again, that's us Gen Xers putting it in this proper context, saying, all right, we've been around long enough to see how this is. These little rallies everybody's doing is nothing but a rerun. We've seen this episode before. You know,
and this is what I love about the president. He made everybody expose themselves to the point where FBA had to delineate just to be on a clear path and say, okay, we got our issues, but y'all got some issues too. Right. Especially after you voted him in overwhelmingly. And you know, I don't blame him. He said, we're going to start getting rid of a lot of y'all who ain't supposed to be here. He wasn't playing when he say that. They thinking that if you're a criminal, like you here boosting or, you know, smuggling people in the country or stuff, once you cross that border, it's like opening a seal at 16, a government seal at 16. You committed a crime once you committed the act. You don't have to be a rapist, you know, murderer, hitman, or some sort of thing.
Right. Just by virtue of you crossing the borders.
Sorry, guys. I wanted to post this. Ron F. He says, so, excuse me, if the dream is dead, how do we unify? We must unify to survive and thrive. I'll tell you the exact same thing that Marcus Garvey said. The rest of you need to get behind us. Period.
That's it.
That's what Garvey said. He said we are the peer of all Negroes. And the reason why he said that was because we have always been more successful. Always been more successful communally when it comes to dealing with this oppressor. So until other groups get behind us the way that we stood 10 toes down for them, there cannot be no unification. It cannot be.
Right.
Because how long do we keep doing the same thing? And we're on the losing side of it. People owe, and you know, the bill has come due. You know, when Con Ed send you that bill, excuse me, I don't know where you live at, but your electric company send you that bill, or your rent is due, or your mortgage is due, or your gas is due, or your car note is due, you pay that bill or you lose what you have. It's time. The bill has come due for the diaspora. And that's why they're losing favor with FBAs. Because remember, your boy Joe Biden, he said we had to get behind the Latinos. Remember that? That conference call what he had with alleged black leaders?
Yep.
He said, y'all need to get behind them. All of these groups talking real reckless. And I always told y'all on this platform, you can go back to our very first show. I always told y'all, we are the balance of power here. Now, all of these groups are, where the black Americans at? Where the black people at? But now we sitting this one out, homie.
Word.
We sitting this one out. And we're proving. I mean, everybody is screaming for us right now. I told you, if you stand down, we are the balance of power here. Not no immigrant, not the white man, and not the elite. Because we will bring a society to its knees if we want to. We've done it in every generation. Don't believe me? Google it, find out if you don't believe me. That's what all your presidents said. We went through what all the presidents said. I told you. So you don't got to believe me, but I'm off my soapbox.
When Sister Keisha used that tone, you better listen.
You better listen. I'm gonna get the belt. I'm gonna get the belt. Yeah. Now they calling us. Now, what's this OT Taco do? This OT Taco and this bad buddy dude talking reckless. Now they getting to work. See, you think we playing? It's a movement that can't be stopped. All of that reckless talk that Fat Joe was making, who got the court docs now? Huh? And what I love, Brother Tad, Sister Marcia, and Brother Black, this new movement is forcing people, either you respect us or we will destroy you. Period. Everybody's getting pulled up on because we're not taking a crap no more. Yeah, that's what Sleepy Joe said. He told us to get behind the Latinos, God darn it. The Latinos is crying. Please come out and help us. Hell no. And everybody who talk reckless, all of you, I'm just giving you a warning. I'm not going to argue with you on nothing. I'm down ice. So you better leave me alone. Leave me alone. Because right now, it's for my generation and my family, Brother Tad's family, and our families who came behind us, our generation, and the ones we gonna leave behind. Yeah, we're gonna stand on business on this one. Because, and even in the Pan-African circles, nobody addressed this issue. I told you, only 2 people. And it was but a blip. Shashi McIntyre, Colin Muhammad. Everybody else, your doctor this and your doctor that and your doctor this and your doctor that, didn't say a goddamn thing because they are their own Pan-Africanist hustles.
Shout out to Dr. Umar.
Don't make me start telling people business. Don't. But anyway, we've come to the end of our program. I'll find the comments, family. Brother Black, it's on you.
I'd like to ask Tad a question before we go in. Who is that?
Who is what?
He kind of looked like Dr. Sukiana, right?
Who's that?
I don't know. The person you spoke of before.
Oh, Dr. Umar?
I
know. That's the Pan-Africanism. Top flight of the world, Craig.
Yeah, man.
Pan-African all over the world.
Y'all seen that they vandalized the school and almost destroyed it?
Vandalized. What school? The Bando?
There was a report of it on YouTube.
I saw it. Looked just like his crib. I'm not buying into that bullshit he's selling. Come on, man. Had you had lock, how you had a school and no locks? Because you don't lock up bandos. Bandos is short for abandoned buildings.
Well, how do you have a school and no security system?
I ain't got schooling no students.
And wait a minute, where's the police report?
Where the teachers? Where
You
the
got a
police?
janitor? You got a principal? You got the nurse for the school? What is that?
Anyway,
Go ahead, Brother Black. We got to go home now. We all got to go. I got to get my ass off the bridge.
I'm going to cover the last 3 weeks. Wasn't it just like last week when Trump and Elon was the biggest thing on the front page? We went from that to a war that's probably not really even happening. I tagged y'all a few days ago in a post by Lisa Cabrera that said that I don't know.
Cabrera. I like her.
Oh yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I love her. I watch almost all her videos. But anyway, what she said was that she had a video that said that whoever went to investigate what happened there forensically, what kind of bombs were dropped, how many people were killed, damaged, what have you, nothing was damaged. I believe that they just faking this because they're trying to bring in the quantum financial system. I'm sure y'all are aware, whether you listen to her or not, of Dr. Kia Pruitt. She's been talking about this stuff for a long time. She's a sister from Cleveland. And so I've been watching her because she covers that. And she covers it pretty well. And she's saying there were 1,100 flights either canceled or delayed today. She was traveling when she made her latest entry. And she said she thinks it's because the quantum financial system is about to pop off, and that they don't want anybody traveling for those reasons so that everybody could be in the country where they exist. Now, that's just news. I'm not telling y'all to take it in or what have you, but Donald Trump did say at the beginning of the year that we were going to be partying from Memorial Day to July 4th, and then we were going to get our independence. So that could be a connection or correlation with it. Take it as you want. We know already that the cosmic is off the chain. It's causing seismic occasions of epic proportions. Villages are being lost, landslides, all that craziness. I posted it most of the time. And we are about in July is about to go ham for real, if you think it's already ham now. So be prepared with that. I suggest at least a month's water and food, non-perishable food. I know we over time, so I'm not going to stay too long. I just need to give y'all a briefing on those little things like that. Stay in touch with me at melanininstitute.blogspot.com. I'm the Blacksmith. This is Thorough Black Talk. I love my panel. I love my people out there listening, and love y'all in the future when you see this. Peace and love. I'm out.
Brothers and sisters, thank you for
wait. Before Sister Marcia go in, you see, we got new controls now. He said, wait, Brother Black Mike is way so much better. Yeah, I had to control him behind the scene. He got to be controlled. But go ahead, Sister Marcia. Go ahead.
You can't control the cosmic force of Nanu Nanu? Mr. Akunaku? Come on. With all that said, brothers and sisters, this was a fabulous show. I will stand down on the discussion of FBA versus Pan-Africanism. I have my own points of views on things, and right now is not, now is a time of learning, right? So you'll sit back, you learn, and then you'll discuss when you're prepared. So that's what I'm doing. So that's why I didn't really chime in too much on this topic. But with all of that said, Generation X is on fire. I remember my mother used to say, oh, I'm so glad I come to America now and you born now, because if you were in the Black Power movement, oh my God, I would have to bail you out of jail and this. And I was a little tight. And if anyone knows me from when I was a baby, and I'm still not tall. So just imagine how tall I was then. So for her to say those words always made me a little resistant in being very vocal on movement and movement activities and stuff like that. Because this little thing can't go to jail. This little thing is not about that life. But she is about another type of life, and warriorship is in the blood. I'd like to thank Sister Keisha for the education. As always, you bring insight and power and new ways of thinking. So I appreciate you for that. I like to tell everyone to study, check out Africans on the Rise.com's website. You know, they have a couple of trips coming up, I believe. There's a fishing trip next month and a tour around Black New York City. So if you're available, check them out, see what's it's all about. And with that said, have a fabulous week. Stay cool. Put compresses on if you have to. Go out there, please grow something. I want everyone who's listening to us right now to put a tomato plant, a basil, oregano, put one seed. By September 15th, you'll have something and you can show off, I grew this. Care for yourself as the universe cares for you. Brother Tad.
All right. I want to thank my beautiful panel, my sister Keisha, my sister Marcia, my brother Black, who came in here starting trouble, but we still love them regardless. Shout out to all my Gen Xers, you know, the ones who learned how to deal with the heat, used to hop the gate of the public pools at night, like Marcy Pool, City Pool, Douglas Pool, Lions Pool, all the pools
Bessie had.
That's right. We used to hop the gates. You know what I'm saying? Somebody bring the boombox. We listen to hip hop, whatever was popping. And then after the pool, we just sit on the stoop, dry off, and break day. Shout out to y'all folks. Those people that really know how to have fun. That's right. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. Shout out to Ron F. You know, Ron F. asked an important question. How do we unify? And the way we unify is first we got to get our house in order. And I want everybody to understand that once you step on U.S. soil, you in Black Americans' houses. We was here prior to the U.S. We were here to build the U.S. This is our house. Please respect that. Wipe your feet off before you come in the door and follow the rules. All right? That's all we ask. Once folks could realize that we're getting our house in order, once our house is in order, then we could unify with the neighbors and our company and the likes. But prior to that, you can't just walk into the house and go in my refrigerator and do what you want to do like you live here. A lot of people are residents. And of course, this is figuratively, but as Black folks, as global universal Black folks, understand where you are. Just like when we go to other diasporan places or even when we're on the continent, we recognize ourselves as guests. So we don't try to take the lead. But unfortunately, people bought into the rhetoric and propaganda of what Blackness is in America, and Black Americans are like gum under people's shoe. And we're not having that. We not even going to do that. So if you want to unify with us, you got to get behind us, you know what I'm saying, and follow our lead. You can't come in my crib and just do what you want to do. That's all that is. And once people can respect the rules, then of course we can unify. Because if you can't respect my rules, now you become an op. And I got to handle you accordingly. So hopefully you're inspired by some things you heard tonight. It's your turn to go out and inspire others. Don't forget to check me and my partner C Gutter out every Sunday at 2 p.m. on YouTube, the OG Wisdom Podcast. And I'm working on another show with my brother Ferg. Shout out to him. Get ready to do something else. Shout out to Doggy Diamonds, all my peoples that I rocks with. I want y'all to stay up, stay blessed, stay true. And remember, no matter how hard things may seem right now, there's always better days ahead. Sister Keisha.
Yeah. We thank you and appreciate each and every one of you for joining us every Thursday. Tell somebody to tell somebody. It goes down here every Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. right here on the Brooklyn Bridge. I hope that you learned something new today. I hope that you were able to see some things from a perspective that you may not have seen prior. And if you have more questions or more inquiries, shoot us a message. And I always will try to answer you to the best of our ability. So, good night, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe, stay dangerous, keep your head on the swivel. You already know it's Brooklyn, baby. Let's go. We out.
On the Brooklyn Bridge tonight, voices strong, knowledge tight. Thorough black talk in the air, changing minds, changing flair. From Brother Tad to Sister K, Warriors got things to say. Sister Marcy brings the heat. Brother Blacksmith keeps the beat. Revolutionary waves, they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral light. Thursday nights the world will see Black Power media on a spree. Facebook, YouTube all aligned, breaking free from every bind. Social talk and politics, every voice breaks through the matrix. Commentary raw and true, for the many, not the few. Revolutionary waves, they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral light. Social talk and politics, every voice breaks through the matrix. Commentary raw and true, for the many, not the few. Revolutionary waves, they fly